Simple everyday routines can affect the air we breathe. By removing dirty air, you breathe clean air at all times, while germs and allergens are inhibited, ensuring healthy and clean air everywhere. Panasonic is able to complete your home with quality air solutions. Panasonic.
Hello, good evening. Hi, gentlemen. Welcome
Hello.
to the show. Yes, to all our viewers, good evening. Welcome to yet another edition of Age Prop Malaysia's Fireside Chat. Today, before we dwell into the subject matter, just ponder this a little bit. When you buy a property, you'll never expect to lose money, right? I mean, you think about, hey, how much is this investment going to bring me in the longer term, in the midterm, in the long term? You never think about, hey, if I don't look after this property, if I don't pay any attention to it, it will actually diminish in terms of value. Well, that is exactly what we're going to talk about today, right? Our subject matter this evening is stop. Are you destroying your property value? You mean, to a lot of people who is not so familiar with property investment, that's a joke. How can I be destroying the value of my property? But at a time, when strata property and communal living is the order of the day, as an owner, you have responsibility to ensure that, not only does the value of a property grows, but you have to make sure that, it doesn't just all cracked up and disappear overnight. Okay. All right. Before I go on to have the honor of introducing our guest speakers for tonight, let me first take this opportunity to thank our sponsors. Our partner is Nippon Paint Malaysia, and our supporting sponsors are Panasonic Malaysia, Matrix Concept, and People Life. And of course, throughout this session, what we're going to have, there's something a little bit different for this fireside chat is we're going to give away some prizes to reward those, who have actually taken the trouble to tune in to learn more about, growing their investment in real estate. Age Prop Malaysia is proud to sponsor this. Can't see very well, but anyway, this is a guidebook. Right, that's jointly published. Oh, thanks. Jointly published by Age Prop Malaysia and Cho Associates. Yeah, we have this. And of course, thanks to the generosity of Anthony Leety, Architect Center is also giving away right, Anthony? Yeah, what do you call that again?
It's a home voucher, a home inspection voucher.
Home inspection voucher. Yes. We are going to give away 2 of that to lucky viewers. And of course, just to, get you to be a little bit more participative viewers, you have to post your questions as we go along. And, our administrators on the back end, they will actually pick the winners at random from those people who have taken the trouble or who are going to take the trouble to actually post questions. Okay, all that done with. Let me now proceed to introduce our speakers, although None of them need any introduction, but then again, it's my honor to do so. First off, we have Anthony Leedy. Anthony, hi. Say hi,
Hello.
Anthony. Yeah.
Hi,
Anthony
Anthony.
has over 3 decades of experience spanning multidisciplinary areas in architecture, project management, and construction in the region, not just in Malaysia. And Anthony Lee believes that every property owner should be entitled to the best quality and workmanship the industry can provide. Right, Anthony? Yeah, that's what you believe, right? And of course, this gentleman here, he has inspected hundreds of properties before, and he also conducts independent inspections of building conditions and forensic investigations. His vision is simple: do it right, first time, every time. That's Anthony. Moving on, Chris Tan. Chris is the founder and managing partner of Cho Associates, a legal boutique that Chris says delivers friendly solution for clients from corporate advisory to everything real estate. Of course, Chris is not unfamiliar to a lot of us. He's a regular guest speaker at corporate, academic, public events, and also a guest commentator in a radio station as well. And he doesn't just speak English, he speaks Chinese, Malay, and I'm sure there are a few more that he has in his pocket, but he's not telling us what else he's fluent in, right? Yeah. He's also author of books on law, property investment, estate planning. The list is just too long. You can just go to his website, it'll be there. If I were to read everything, it'll take tomorrow, for me to finish. Yeah. Okay. And last but not least, we have Tan Haji Ishak Ismail. Hello, Tan Haji.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi. Tan Haji is the founder and managing director of IM Global Property Consultant Sendram Berhad. And he was the president of the Malaysian Institute of Professional Property Manager and the current president of the Malaysian Association of Muslim Negotiators. He is also the chairman of the Property Management Committee of the Malaysian Board of Valuers, Appraisers, Real Estate Agents, and Property Managers Malaysia, or BOVIA, right? And of course, Tan Haji is a certified valuer, and he is a prominent speaker for the Ministry of Housing, COB, JMB, MC on the area of property management. Yes, Tan Haji. Okay, without further ado, let's proceed to what we are talking about today. Gentlemen, COVID-19 is still very much topical. What is managing a property like during and post MCO? Has anything changed? What is the new normal? I know there are a lot of things that we can talk about, maybe let's zero into some aspect that are relevant to the topic of, what we're going to talk about tonight. Would you like to start, Anthony?
Okay, thank you, Feng Yi. Yeah, and hello to all the people who have signed in. Yeah, I think the first most fundamental change is that today the home now is where you work from, or well, at least a lot of us did that. And I also understand that now there are many organizations today are in fact trying to encourage at least a balance between having to work from home and also going to the office when needed. I think the trend is there. The trend has set, and certain types of people are definitely not going to go back to the old norm. So I think as far as that is concerned, it puts a different kind of emphasis and pressure onto what was originally conceived predominantly as a place that you go back at home, but now because it's going to function quite differently, and it's going to function. Especially like things on services has to perform and it cannot break down. So I believe that would be the most significant change post-COVID.
Okay, if I can just, summarize that, see if I'm with you. A home is not just a home in the true sense of the word.
Yes.
Right. It's more than a roof over the head, right? When you go home after work. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Now, I mean, predominantly when we say a home, there are many definitions of home. The traditional idea of a home is that you go back home. But a lot of us, when we go back home, it's not necessarily the home. You may be going back to your to your service apartment that you're renting. You could be actually going back to your quarters, if you're living in the quarters. Or you could be sending your children to a daycare. That's really like a home in the daytime. Or you could be in an old folks' home, for example. So I think to many people, right, we can't just define the normal home. So I think in this case here, we need to make that definition.
Sure. So hence we're saying managing a property, not managing a residential property, right? Yeah.
Yes. Correct. Yeah.
Tan Haji and Chris, feel free to jump in at any time, so that it can be a little bit more interactive. So it's okay. Yes.
Sure. Yeah, allow me on this one. Since we're talking about working from home, I think we talk about definition and whatnot. So when you talk about definition, obviously you can't run away from the lawyer. So that's why I need to patch in, of course. But I'm highlighting to you at this moment is this. I think what working from home posted a new concern, and not just on property management. Are you destroying your property and whatnot? I just want to highlight a few very interesting perspectives for you. First of all, when we talk about property, at the end of the day, we ask, is it residential property? Is it commercial property? Is it industrial property? Is it whatever, right? So if you ask me, working from home effectively mean your residential usage of the property is effectively double up for commercial usage in a way, right? It could be even an industrial usage if depends what kind of work are you doing in home, correct? It could actually be warehousing, by the way, because then you could be keeping your stock for your e-commerce, that kind of thing. So I'm highlighting to you at the end of the day, working from home posed a lot of new challenges and new perspective. Perhaps you never thought about it. Let me ask you one question. Last time, we make a lot of hoo-ha about commercial property and Airbnb, yes? For example, by saying that, can you actually get your home to do short-term rental? That's commercial, right? Now, my question now, even everyone asking you to bring your work home and then you're doing e-commerce from your own house, does that mean that you're violating the land use of your home? Right?
Yeah.
And I'm giving another perspective to you. Now, if really we all work from home, right? And this is a big issue everyone is talking about, obviously, but nobody see it from this angle. TNB, are they going to charge you a commercial rate or your residential rate? I think there's difference, right? And in terms of valuation, even quick rent assessment every year, they're supposed to do a valuation of your property now, right? The fact that you're doing some commercial activity in your property because of this social distancing and work from home, shouldn't the valuation go a little bit higher than therefore the local authority should actually, in a way or another, charging you higher? I don't know. I mean, these are questions I don't answer, but I thought working from home, just by that context itself, give rise of a lot of new perspective. Yes.
Okay. Oh, I'm just wondering whether TNB and the municipal councils are tuning in, but that's a story for another day. Yeah. Tan Haji, anything to add to that?
When you talk about managing a property, the new normal, basically, you have got to ensure that you meet the objective of your investment. When you buy a property, when anyone buy property, either for owner occupied, for capital appreciations, or for the cash flow for rental investment. So you need to ensure that during this new normal, so you do not get the bad effect of it. So in other words, if you buy for the purpose of investment, tenant will come back to you and ask for reductions of rental. So that is what you and then who buy the property for capital appreciation, you perhaps will be thinking of what would be the effect of the capital value of my property, when this COVID-19 affected the world. So to me, I think, the challenges that faced by many is to how we can together as a community, to create a responsible community is one of the challenges during this COVID-19. How together we can build the environment clean, safe, and harmony.
Okay. Wait. Yeah. Very good point, which means the owners, they have to do something, right? You just can't sit back and do nothing and expect, the price of your property to just go up.
Yeah.
I mean, with this COVID-19 and the MCOs, I think it's very, very clear, right? Yes. What
I'd like
would
to add something.
gentlemen? Yeah, sure.
Only I'd like to add something.
Sure.
I said just now that now we are bringing the office back to the homes. Now, one of the key things is what Chris has mentioned is that now the purpose of the home is different now. We are using it for a commercial premise. Now, when you're dealing with the commercial premises, you immediately increase a lot of the load and the wear and tear on all your M&E services. That's first and foremost. So if you're not maintaining the property properly from the beginning, and it is already fairly dilapidated, when it takes additional load, right, equipment will start to wear and break down a lot faster. Obviously, scheduling is very different from when you are running it as a
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. So would you say that this is something that property managers must take note of?
Yes.
Because of the different circumstances that have arisen since MCO, the scheduling, the need for scheduling becomes even more urgent and more significant, right?
Yeah, because during this time here where a lot of people are hoping to get discounts during, we heard earlier saying, look, times are bad, we should have waived service charges.
Right.
In fact, I think this is really the opposite. All the more now because the buildings now are being used more heavily. Service charges and the frequency of doing services becomes shorter. But one of the key areas in safety that I want to emphasize is actually in fire. A lot of the buildings today, like residential, you do not need a fire certificate. And a lot of the risk that goes with the normal apartments are much lower. But once you start changing the use, and when people like a lot of buildings like service apartments, for example, although they are designated buildings, but they have received a lot of waivers for sprinklers. So buildings that were built, service apartments that were built before 2017, don't have sprinklers. They have been waived. So in this case here, you are going not only into a building that already is a high risk, but now the building is being used for the purposes of commercial premises in those category of buildings. So we must be quite mindful of that.
Okay. So the emphasis is even greater now, right? With the varied use of the premises, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, I just was just curious because you were very active in the secondary property market as well, right? Besides being developer, what is the what's on the wish list of property buyers or even tenants these days post MCO? We're talking about strata properties, right? Communal living. Are there any aspect of the building that they are more concerned about, or is it life? Is just normal? Is there any added needs on their end that they want to make sure that this place has been operating well during maybe the lockdown, everything was okay, nothing's wrong with it, or they're just oblivious, or they have not thought about it, it's too soon for them to think about it?
Sorry, only the questions for me, is it?
For Tuan Haji.
Tuan Haji, okay.
Yeah, because this is about people looking for secondary market properties, right? Yeah.
So those who are live in the strata properties, I think they will have to understand that they are basically abide with the Strata Management Act 2013, Act 757. So they will have to understand their role and responsibility living together with the other residents. So they will have to also know what is their power, and their duties to ensure that the property is well managed.
Sure.
And at the same time, they also concerned about how are they going to enjoy all the facilities during this COVID-19 when the swimming pool is prohibited, and the gymnasium and all that.
Correct. Yes.
According to the act, we have to pay whether they use or
Yes.
not.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, the predicament of buyers or the owners, of the strata living. On the other aspect, the JMB, the MCs, and also the property manager is chasing after them. So how to balance all this, So
Sure.
I think we have got to duty, to together to ensure that all the financial resources are available, are sufficient. At the
Sure.
same time,
Understand.
we need to ensure and monitor that all the expenses are well managed by the
Yes.
JMC.
Yeah.
The issue
Yeah.
of integrity is very important. The issue of schedule maintenance is very important.
Yes.
Safety is paramount. So these are among issues that buyers of secondary houses.
Yes. Okay. So, Tuan Haji, that's interesting. But what I was trying to get at was, post MCO, when people, look and consider a property, buying a property, are there other things, rather than the normal ones that they consider? Are there any other attributes of this building that they think about?
Now, as you know, the property market in Malaysia is divided into three different markets. Number one is the primary market, where the supply is from the developer. The secondary market, where you can get your second house from the subsale market, and the third source of supply is from the auction market. So all these different market is having a different character when you want to buy any property. So there are actually 5 things that you need to consider when you buy the property post COVID-19. Number one, so you need to ensure that the building is safe and clean.
Yeah.
Okay, because the lifestyle is that if you want to go and buy, you have to ensure that the facilities are well maintained. The property management are up to your expectation.
And they need to do their research, right? They need to do their research. Yes.
At the end of the day, is that on whether they can attract the demand in terms of tenant, whether the tenant like to come and rent the place or not. So if they want to stay, on whether they are safe for them or not. So these are that they need to consider. Number one. Number two, I think they will have to check on whether the bank facilities are available, because banks now have some mitigating risk analysis. They will have to check on whether the location that they choose is within the preference of banks' loan facilities given or not. So they will have to check on that. And number three, they will have to know on whether the property manager that are expected to manage the property are guided or regulated by the act. So these 3 things I think we need to consider.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe if I can just jump in, they should actually also consider the results of the HPROP Malaysia's Best Managed and Sustainable Property Awards that we hold every year, because we look exactly at at all the areas that you've just mentioned, and of course I must take this opportunity to add that both Anthony and Chris actually are among our panel of judges for the awards. Yes, thank you very much, Tuan Haji. Yes.
Can I jump in on this?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Okay, I just want to highlight since you're asking, after this pandemic and whatever that we're doing at the moment in the secondary market, what are the buyers looking for right now moving forward? So I'm saying to you is that actually at the end of the day, I think cost is a concern.
Yeah.
I will use the word cost as a concern. One thing about buying into a strata property, everyone must know that there is a lifelong commitment on your side. As long as you are the owner of a strata property, you need to pay for the common facility, whether you use it or not. All right.
Yep.
And every month you need to pay service charge, and every month you need to pay sinking fund. So one of the consideration of the secondary buyer at the moment today, I think, is actually how do we really need those facilities? That's the first question, right? And number two, it used to be a selling feature. Next time when I tell you I got 5 gymnasiums, 6 swimming pool, these are all very sexy. But today, probably these are not sexy anymore. But you tell me you have a bigger lift lobby, bigger lift, right, where you can keep social distancing, perhaps, and everything go to a very bare minimum, right? And therefore, your monthly commitment in paying the service charge could be lower, right? And the saving fund could be lower. And if you have that kind, it become more appealing right now. So if you're buying a secondary, don't look for those. I think if you are looking for those that you have plenty of facility as a feature for you to maintain and you don't use, is a good consideration. And the fact that during the lockdown and during the MCO and during the pandemic period, we know, although we can't use it, we still need to pay for it. There's no way we don't have to pay for it. Correct?
Yeah.
So we can put it into a little bit more nominal in that sense. And I think another thing that
You go first, Chris. You go first.
Sure. And one more thing that I want to highlight right now is that, location to me, even after pandemic here, is slightly less relevant now. Simply because we are not in a centralized location. A location that we are on right now as we speak is on the internet, right? That's the location that we are in right now. And we can still do our work, we can still communicate and whatnot. So I'm saying to you is that it used to be, follow the infrastructure, where's the latest LRT station and whatnot. But today, really, which area have the best access to data? Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Anthony, you want to say something?
Yeah, mine is more kick the bricks issue. I think I want to take on what.
Sorry, Anthony, can I be so rude as just to interrupt you for a little while? Just to quickly add on to what Chris has brought up, I would say that, that is not just relevant only to the secondary market, but also to the primary market or auction market. Yeah, I mean, when choosing your next buy, what are things that you look at? Don't look at, an overspill of amenities that you probably won't use, but you have to, pay an arm and a leg for. Yeah? Okay. Thanks, Anthony. Yes.
Because we were talking about the sub-sale market, and sub-sale market is kind of tricky when you're going in to pick up a strata property, because it takes an expert to know the condition of the services there. I mean, obviously you could buy into a lemon. I mean, after all, what do? You go and knock at the door of the property manager's office and say, look, you do your research. How do you do your research about lifts that have been breaking down frequently? How do you work out that if things are leaking in this property, because you don't get access into many parts of the property? So this is the kind of things that we always advise people to be very wary about the kind of properties that you buy into. And if you have difficulties in understanding those things, and that's what Chris said, you will be paying a lifelong charges for service charges and sinking fund. A lot of this money will be spent in repairing things that you may have been buying into a defective property. So I think the part that we always tell people, always be careful, and if you're not sure, get professionals to help you.
Okay, so what is the solution here, Anthony? So when you say get professional help, exactly what are we saying?
Well, okay. First and foremost, it's for professionals that look into the issues of services, for example. From you can tell from certain symptoms about whether the property is maintained well. Also, like as what Haji was saying, the property manager itself will be able to are registered, and if they are well managed and they are regulated, most of this information, right, you can actually go to the offices and speak to them about this. And also, obviously, if you can, it's good to be able to engage with the JMBs or the members of the council who are running the property. So it's really deep in and asking the hard questions and doing the work that most people do not do when they buy into a property, especially the sub.
I'm sure this is, Tan Haji, you agree, right? Because buyers now, they are very discerning. They ask a lot of questions, right?
I think the key point here knowledge is power.
Yes.
All right. So so buying the property during this new normal, you need to go and acquire knowledge. All right. So go and talk to a professional. Go and talk to an expert. Consult those who can help you, because money during this period is very crucial. So whatever you're saving is very important. You cannot afford to lose your money. So in my opinion, I think upgrading knowledge and skill is also important, because sometimes during this COVID-19, it is quite heavy to pay to hire contractors and all that. So something that you can do yourself, you have to learn how to do it and fix yourself. So so this is something that I think you can learn through many online seminars, free webinars, something like this, something that the Age Property is promoting. I think they have done a very fantastic, good job to help the community.
Thank you.
To educate them, to understand their responsibility and roles, and feed the knowledge. I think this is very important.
And of course, only deal with registered agents.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Only, yeah, okay. Thank you. There are actually quite a number of questions coming in, but I thought that, maybe we just look at one more subject matter, and then we'll go on to the question. This is actually more Anthony and Chris, and of course Tuan Haji as well. When we look at the building from the outside, it may look fantastic, I mean, it's just like a guy or woman, attired in branded stuff, But when you go in there and you open up, oh my God, things are not as, red and rosy as what you expect them to be. And probably, you would have paid a lot of money. So what I'm talking about is the health condition of a building. How exactly, or how healthy is a building? Because if we talk about the pandemic, the MCO, we stay at home because we want to feel safe and we want to make sure that, we are healthy, we don't fall sick. But how sure are we that the building that we are, huddle up in is healthy to start off with? Maybe, Anthony, you want to, start the ball rolling?
Okay. I think
maybe just share with the viewers today, maybe some of the takeaway from our site visits, what are the things that we saw that, and we never expected it to be there, and it should have never been there in the first place. Yeah.
I think when we are buying into a property, as we all know, this is our dream purchase, our biggest single purchase. So most of the time, we tend to buy from part. We go and see the facilities, we see the landscaping is very nice, we see the parts that we want to see. And that's kind of like, you reinforce, oh, I like this property, let's look at the nice things. But in fact, you are buying into something that it could be skin deep, or it could be, it's just a situation where you're buying into the beauty that is skin deep, but with many, many frivolous facilities. Now, this is the difference between a property that can be maintained well over the long term, as what taking a page from what Chris said, you're going to pay service charges throughout the whole life of your purchase, including the sinking fund. So it's very important to cut the fluff between what is actually what you're buying into and what you really have to keep maintaining for the rest of the life of the property. Some people are so taken into like swimming pools and landscaping and things like that, and they're taken into a lot of the areas like all the fancy gyms and saunas and amazing features on the roofs and the facade and things like that. But eventually, these things here stop becoming a feature. You stop looking at those things. Many people don't even use those things. And when you really start thinking about it, many of these properties have so much difficulties trying to maintain this and keep the quality and keep it running properly over the years.
Yeah.
And these are the things that they should start thinking hard. Do they want to buy into this kind of features?
Yeah, if I can just interrupt, Anthony, very interesting. You talk about swimming pool. fungal issues, and which actually result in peeling. I mean, is that something that's happening a lot in Malaysian properties, given the kind of weather that we have? Yeah.
Malaysia, often people think that Malaysia is a tropical climate, so it's very mild and nice because all the tourists come here and have holidays. But when we go overseas, right, it's like winter, or it's very uncomfortable. But in fact, Malaysia, by coating definitions and wall definitions, we are extreme weather because we have extreme wet and we have extreme dryness, and also because of the warm temperature, we get a lot of mold and fungus growing on our buildings. So these are the things, the telltale signs that you can tell if the building was even built right from the start and maintained properly. So appearance, this is easy to look at when you can see, but I think as far as that is concerned, most people can pick those things visually. My concern is always things that you cannot see, the things that are hidden, the things that are behind the wall, the things that are in the ducts, the things that are in the lifts and things like that. So those are the things, you really, although it's good to get knowledge, but a lot of these things are very technical in nature.
Because in the past, we have always had like questions, readers you used to write in. I mean, they still do that, they complain about fungal issues in their home, what is it that, is it something that they should take up with the developer? Is it something that they should take up with their neighbors, the neighbors upstairs, downstairs? So it looks like, it is an issue that is not uncommon, right?
Yeah.
In this harsh format, right? But of course, there are solutions to overcome, right? Yeah, maybe you can talk about that another day. Yes, we are talking about how healthy is the building. Yeah, generally, would you be able to say, like, give it a ranking from 1 to 10, 10 being, the number 1 being the best and number 10 being not so good, right? How would you rank a lot of buildings?
From our judging criteria when we visited all these properties over the last few years, I think it's a clear, not number 1. Okay, it is definitely like the 7 or 8. Some properties even the 9 or the 10, and these are very high-end properties, where most of the time the air conditioning doesn't have fresh air, they don't have proper ventilation, and that's, as you said, there's a lot of mold, water gets into these places. So when you go into the room, the indoor air quality is dreadful. And you may even see this kind of situations where they have a lot of materials that they use that have formaldehydes and mold and all this stale air that are within very habitable rooms. Okay, so it's all the telltale signs that you should watch out for. So don't do the things that are obvious, but use the senses, use your nose, touch and feel and walk in like this. Then our human body is amazing; it can pick it up. Except that if you are in this kind of environment all the time, you tend to get desensitized. So this is some area that we should be very mindful of.
Yeah. Chris, do people sue each other over such issues?
Yes, obviously. Right. But I'm just saying that, I would like to take your question again that you posed earlier. I'm very different from Anthony because Anthony is always the science, the hard part and whatnot, which is true, or effective, right? I'm the soft guy and a little bit more artistic, right?
Okay.
But I think it's very simple. Metaphorically, it's like this. When we look at the building, obviously it charms us, why we like it, the environment is good and whatnot. It's just like a marriage, right? In a marriage, when you say, will you take this man or take this woman as your lawfully wedding wife or husband, the answer that you give is not yes, The answer you give is called I do. All right? I need to highlight that part. I do simply means you need to make it work. It's called I do. That's why the question is, when you say best managed property, which I think kudos to HPOP for highlighting the importance of this, you must understand, whatever property that you buy need not be in perfect condition, but it must be manageable, right? In that sense, it must not be too daunting for you. If it become too daunting for you, then it cannot be your ideal property for life, right? So I'm highlighting to you is that, again, one other soft point that I want to highlight to people, other than, looking at facility, looking at telltale sign, whether there are algae anywhere, fungal everywhere, and certain leakage and whatnot. But I think one more thing that I would advise anyone who want to buy into a secondary mature strata community, one of the things that you probably want to do, and let me advise you this, is very strange, right? I think even Haji Ishak can even testify on this. Nobody have ever asked you this ever if anyone want to buy a property, but after today, they might be because I say it now, right? I'm saying to you that if I am buying a condominium now today, you know what I'm going to ask on a secondary basis? I'm saying, can I see the AGM minutes of the past AGM? And this is important. You know why? From the AGM itself, you can see whether there is a raise of maintenance charges, sinking funds, whether the hard part is being dealt with in a way, correct? You can see that, what are the issues being brought up. So for reading on it, they're talking something about lift, talking something about the swimming pool. That gives you some idea of what this is, right? And number two, the soft part of it is to see that whether there's two different camp there, and whether they can form their government, any back door or front door, I don't know, right? But I thought asking for a copy of the past AGM minutes help purchaser to really, really tell the hard, the soft, the art, the science of the entire community. Strata, at the end of the day, you are buying a property with a club membership. You must know who are your fellow club member. That's also very important.
Yeah.
I agree with Chris 100%. You know why? My advice to the buyer, apart from asking for the past AGM minutes, we wish you probably may not be able to get it unless the owner is the active owner who attended the AGM. But what you need to do is that you can either refer to the COB, the Commissioner of Buildings. They may have a copy of the past AGM, and once we have the copy of the AGM minutes, the most important things that you need to look at the rate of collection. So how about the collection of service charges? If the collection of service charges is below 50%,
in trouble.
They are in trouble. They have sufficient financial resources to spend. If they have no money, they will not be able to maintain the facilities well, and you might be deep into trouble. That's number one. Number two, you may refer to the board of valuers, appraiser, estate agents, and property managers to know on whether the property manager who are managing that property are legals or not. If they are not registered with the board, then you can rest assured that if they done anything wrong, then you have problems, to get your investment value. So these are the two things that I agree with Ms. Chris. You need to know when you buy the property. Number one, on whether the capital value appreciate or not, depending on how they manage the property. Number two, when you buy the property, on whether you will have the safety when you live in the property.
Yeah. Okay. Instead of leaving all the questions to the end, that's one that has just come in that's very relevant to what we have just discussed about the minutes of AGM. So maybe I should actually bring it up at this point. Chen Yi Han, this is actually directed at Grace. If the prospect is still not a confirmed purchaser, it is right. Is it proper for the prospect to try and obtain a copy of the AGM minutes? Can you do it?
Yeah, I'm just saying to you, first of all, Tan Haji Ishak already said, right, you can actually get an AGM minutes for all intent purposes, even through the COB, right? I'm saying to you, and there's nothing wrong anyway. What's so wrong about disclosing this? It's not like, once I know this, it is like a due diligence anyway, right? What does an AGM minute show you? I just show you what it is in the context of person. Since I talk about marriage just now, it's a medical record, past record of this person. You understand? No? This property that you buy in, that is actually effectively telling you a bit. And for example, even if I ask a seller to give me this and they can't give me, and then when they find it difficult to give it to me, then I can make an assumption to say that there's some
Something
issue
is not
about,
right.
something is not right? So
No less disclosure, yeah.
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
So if you, and all these things are, to me, is not about the content sometimes. It's about the motion that you can get it. Is it so easy to get it? Is it, and even when you walk into the management office, right? Just ask a few questions, will give you some idea. That's how we do site visit anyway, right? During the best managed property, we suddenly don't see Anthony somewhere because he's somewhere doing spot check, right? I'm highlighting to you is that, how can you say, to me, very simple. At the end of the day, this is a disclosure by a seller to the buyer, correct? And there's no law that say that these are confidential information you shouldn't disclose.
Yeah. Sure.
Right? If
Okay.
you want to get your buyer, then disclosure, to me, is fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I think overall is really looking for all the little telltale signs, The telltale sign. So Chris, as we were walking around, you start seeing little signs says no Airbnb guests allowed. You start looking, you start finding a lot of warning signs, a lot of duck cross, no foreigners here and things like that. So you start seeing all these kind of things. So the harmonious quality of the property takes a bit of senses rather than like as what Chris, not the hard facts, but you can do definitely the soft part of your own due diligence.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. This is also a question related to what you have mentioned earlier, Chris, because you said about in the context of COVID-19 and MCO, location mantra is not as key as what it used to be, right? Because now it's more about digital connectivity, for instance, right? So Henry Tan Cho Hing would like to ask this, say that shouldn't we view property as a long-term investment? COVID-19 pandemic and MCO will end eventually. And wouldn't our life be back to normal after that? And if that happens, wouldn't location be most important factor again? Okay, Chris, before you answer, maybe this question should be given by Tuan Haji. Yes. Do you agree, Tuan Haji, that in the context of COVID, location is not so key as it used to be, or it is still very, very important?
Well, to me, in my opinion, I think location is very important. Because the process of urbanization is actually based on the location. So when the planning, when the urban planning is confirmed through the structure plan and local plan, in fact, the government has actually, somehow planned in that manner in terms of infrastructure, connectivities, and also some form of urbanization, development. So I think when the maturity of the place, is there, so location plays very important. But I then tend to agree also. The lifestyle preference is perhaps will change. Instead of we always go to a lifestyle when we buy, we want to know how many facilities that are available and all that may not be a top priority anymore. So people perhaps will go to the basic lifestyle. So that is perhaps the choice. But again, the location, is very important. You choose the place where it is closer to your working, office. So you choose the place where you want to travel to get your, your your makan place and all that. So, or you choose a place where is close to your business school, where you send your children and all that. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
location is still there.
Okay.
Location is still very important.
Okay. Yeah, Chris, how? Yes, I know he cannot wait already. He can't wait already. Yes, Chris, over to you.
No, I think at the end of the day, location have been to me. I was mentioning just now. I didn't say it is not important. I just say that it's less important comparatively, less important because there's a matter of choice now. Really, there's a matter of choice in a sense. For example, at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves: proximity is not defined, right, by really the physical distance anymore, right? And I'm thinking, if after COVID 19, rightly Henry is saying that shouldn't we all go back to the normal and whatnot? I understand. Let's put it this way: even if we go back to the normal right now, it's a normal with a new choice. How about that? It's a normal with a new choice, right? You can choose to go to a hotel, convention hall to attend this training, this sharing at the moment, right? Or you can do it online. It's both ways. It's a matter of choice now. So it means last time there's no choice but to go to the hotel, which very interestingly this week I give a talk in a hotel and I give 2 talks online. So I'm saying to you is that for all intent and purposes, it will be back to the old normal but with more choices. And then habitually it gives us an option to say that fine, I can choose to live close to all the proximity I want if I can afford it, if it really matters to me, or I can choose to live in a more minimum, just like what Tan Haji Ishak is saying that there's a choice, doesn't matter. I tell you what, the old normal is very wasteful. The old normal is burning our resources unnecessarily. All right, we don't need one. When we can do these things, if not, you see, if we are having this right now in a location whereby it's conducive to everyone else, guess what? Everyone else needs to travel back at the same time, right? Everyone else needs to travel there at the same time. And right now, we are all doing it in the best location possible, which is our hope. So I'm trying to get this to Henry to say to you is that even if there is no more COVID-19 threat, let me give you one thing. I said people now have choice. When they have choice, it's rather than no choice. When they have a choice, at least what I'm trying to say, location, it used to rank very high. And now I'm trying to use is that it's not ranking as high. The weightage factor, talk about strata, share unit, right? The usage weightage is an issue now.
No, this is actually, I find this question very thought-provoking. Maybe something that we should talk about. Lyndon Ng, this is what she has said. There are obviously different target market segments we need to consider. How is it appealing for high-end condo not to have complete range of facilities? Value is based on perception of the buyer, i.e. need to feel good and the wow factor. Maintenance cost is only a mere a factor for mass market segment. I suppose the question is that to each his own. I mean, if I want to live in a high-end condo, I want to have a lot of facilities because I want to feel good. Doesn't matter if I don't stay in it, So yeah. So what's wrong with it? Is there anything wrong with it? Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. That's why we are called a capitalist economy here. There's supply, there's demand. If there are people looking for it, therefore there will be supply. But of course, we are saying what changes. Correct? If you choose not to change and you are not looking for a house but looking for a trophy, then it's fine. I can't, sometimes you don't look for a wife, but you need a trophy. I don't know. Either way, right? I'm saying to you.
I also don't know. Yes.
What I'm saying to you is that at the end of the day, it's really what you're after, right? You can still have your bungalow or mansion in the air, high-end condo with all the facility that you want, right? There's nothing wrong. I would say that I celebrate choices. Just as I said just now in the answer the previous question, I said now it's a normal with a new choice, with more choices. How about that? Right?
Yeah.
So we still have it. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it highlights, what Tuan Haji has pointed out. We must make informed decisions. We must know what is it that we are going into, right? What kind of marriage we are getting into.
Yes.
If you think that you're happy to pay for this, by all means, I mean, nothing wrong with that. But you may have neighbors who may not think the same way. you
Yeah.
may be prepared to come up with that amount of money, but you can't say the same for everybody else, staying, in that condo. Yeah, this is something to take note of. Anthony, you want to say something?
Oh yeah, and that's it about. I did mention about frivolous facilities. One to each his own. But then, if you are buying, and you're buying into a property that has a lot of facilities, you may enjoy it, but you have to work and live harmoniously with other people. And what you may want, the other people may not agree with you, because we have done so many inspections of properties today that have said, look, we are paying too much for electricity, we're paying too much for security, we're paying too much for landscaping. Can we fill up this pool today? Because we don't need 3 swimming pools, we only need one. We don't need all these shrubs here. Can we just pave it over? Now, yeah, it doesn't look as good anymore. It doesn't feel like it's fetching the value anymore. But the people who live in there have found harmony, and they have found a collective mindset that, look, today we all feel we don't need the swimming pool, 3 swimming pools, we may need one. So I'm just giving it, and nobody plays tennis there. So maybe now we can do something else with that. So, changes. We all know that trend changes. It used to be very trendy, to do certain things, but facilities is also a trend. So I think this is important for us to be able to make that hard decisions, buying between the heart and the head. It's between you buying the beauty, as what Chris was saying, whether you're buying a trophy, that you can maintain the trophy over the life of that building. Unless, of course, you have so much money, you can just buy and say, look, I don't like it anymore, I'll move on to the next one. But most people do not buy into the property with that kind of approach.
Yeah, yeah.
Buying property is basically a combination of art and science. So
Yeah.
when you decide to buy the property, you actually consider many factors. So there are there are factors that you consider in terms of your financial capability, but at the same time you also have the sentimental value why you want to buy the property, because you're close to your mom house, because I need that for security, because I'm a businessman and travelers, so I need to ensure that my family is safe and safety. So I have to have 24 security guards to man the property. So it's good to live in the condos or apartments. So when someone buy the property, there are a lot of factors. So in other words, in the future, if you want to buy any property, you may not be perhaps put a lot of weightage into the facilities, but you may also think the other factors as well. So it's a combination, as agree with Anthony. So it's a combination of art and science here.
Yeah. So I suppose the bottom line is go in with both eyes wide open.
Yeah.
You know what you're getting yourself into. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So okay, let's move on. Defects versus upgrading. We often hear complaints, about a project that's just been handed over, and then certain things needs to be rectified, and certain areas needs to be upgraded. Whose responsibility is that? We always ask, is it the developer's responsibility, or is it the owner's responsibility? Yeah. Maybe Anthony, you want to pick the ball.
Okay.
Yeah, going. Yeah, because I think during our site visits, we have actually encountered some of those before, right? Yeah.
You see, when we buy into a strata property, what do? We always focus on our own property first, on our own unit first, and probably your accessory parcel, your car park, and things like that. You might really just take the lift up to your lobby and so forth, and you might use a few of the facilities, occasionally. But we're all busy trying to get our unit renovated, moving in, and we enjoy. And even whatever concerns that we have on defects or things that we want to do, we will be putting a lot of emphasis in our own unit. So for the first year or so, right, we really have not much focus on what's happening in the common property area until much later, maybe a year and a half, or maybe even 2 years or 3 years. when the committee is formed and people get to know each other, then the concerns of the common property starts to flush out. I mean, these concerns can be big ticket items. It can be fairly things like functional items, like rain splashing in, or things that are broken and things like that. Now, often, like I said, because they are not picked up early and people form JMBs and they're starting to get to know the property, most of the people are not technical people. So they won't even understand what's going on in the lift or in the pump or underneath the swimming pool and things like that. So, and at that time, the property is still under defect liability period. So that time, there is quite a difficult thing for you to differentiate between workers who were actually there doing the defects, that was still there, that hasn't been fixed under the DLP, versus the work that actually are being done as far as upgrading, as what you say, So I think this is very, very confusing, and it's not easy for homeowners to start getting familiar with the property. The only time that they actually get emphasized on it is like then when something's actually get broken. For example, the lift keeps breaking down. Oh no, it keeps breaking down, so you can't get to your unit. So the lift happened to get more attention. So in those instances, it gets brought up in the JMB meetings and so forth. So those things can be fixed. If there's a water keep coming in and it's going to the lift and things like that, it can be picked up. But it's those things that remain silent and they're hidden in there maybe till year 3 or year 4, and then it pops up. So those are the kind of things that are really difficult to manage. And items as well.
Yeah, exactly. Things like roof leakage, water seepage. I mean, those may appear to be a small thing, but actually it's very irritating and it's very time consuming, right? Trying to fix something.
And also expensive to repair properly. So most do not get fixed properly.
So you actually need to pay attention to stuff like that, right? But how, as a person, first-time property owner, they move in, they're not sure. I mean, given, the circumstances that you have articulated, right? Is it upgrading or is it DLP? Then what should a person do? What can he or she do? That's a long slide.
If I can just come in this, because what just now you say that what's the difference between defects, what's the difference between upgrading, right? So to me, it's very simple. At the end of the day, really, if you talk about defect for all intent and purposes, is what they promise you, what they give you, right? And let's say if that doesn't meet that promise, right, that's a defect. And upgrading is to over-deliver now. Is to over-deliver. As in, who's supposed to do it, right? If it's within the defect liability period, then we all know, right? The claim can still be with the developer, right?
Sure.
Like another thing, like even just now I brought a very good thing about your own unit and the common property, right? Under the law, if you buy a Housing Development Act under the schedule, for example, there's really an allocation as to how many percent that you pay for is actually for your unit and how many percent that you pay for is actually for the common property. Anyone have any idea into this? Let me just shed some light in relation to this. Do you know that in private property, it's possible that you can get your main parcel, which is your own unit first, and don't get the delivery of the common property? Sometimes there's a delay in relation to this, right? And in the contract, it's already allocated 20% of your purchase price is the basis for you to calculate. It's the basis for you to calculate the fact that there's a late delivery of the common property. So I'm trying to highlight that in relation to this context here, 80% of your price perhaps is intended by the law to say that it's for your unit. Another 20% of your purchase is only for the common property. Why do I need to highlight this? Is because at the end of the day, you must know what is common property. It's not supposed to steal the limelight from your unit, right? But it's very hard to tell. And when I say that, when you complain to the developer and they need to maintain and do the defect rectification, right? They have a choice. You know why? After the complaint, they may realize that, yes, I promised you to give you A, but A doesn't meet your purpose after the execution, correct? So I upgraded to B so that there will not be another complaint because A was not good. But contractually, he might have promised you A. In fact, I can even sue now that you upgrade to B. I want A. You can say upgrade for all you want, but I like my Proton better than the BM that you want to give to me. Right? That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
I want to see from the how the value of the property, okay, from the valuer's perspective, and we value the property of the strata units. Yeah, for your information, okay, the common property, has got no commercial value. So you can't sell the common property. The common property, even though they are actually having a title by itself, but the title has got no commercial value. The value has been embedded into the unit. So that's why when you buy the insurance policy, the insurance of your units will come together under the master insurance policy. So that's why when we value the property of the unit, we will also take into account, so what is the condition of the common property in the surrounding. If the condition of the common property is very bad, it will definitely affect the value of your unit, even though your unit is beautiful. Even though you have upgraded your unit beautifully, but if the property is badly managed, it will definitely affect the value of your property, because the common property value has been embedded into the unit. So be careful in this when you buy the stock units.
Yeah, because ultimately it will affect the value, right? Yeah.
Correct.
And it doesn't have to be just condo. It could be landed strata.
It can be
common property, right? It can be anything, right? Yeah. Interesting, because we have actually got some comments from viewers that are curious as to why we are spending so much time talking about condos. I think the reality is, I don't know, maybe gentlemen, maybe you I don't know whether you share my sentiment that because as Malaysia is seeing more and more condos, strata living, I think inevitably, at the end of the day, we have to confront these issues, right? Because they will affect the value of the property. Yeah. Do you see a trend otherwise?
Other segments. Let's just have a quick look at other. I've seen the comments made here from Lyndon and several others. Now, let's just take, for example, a office building, for example, an office block. I mean, a single owner and things like that. And you're wondering whether, through all of these things here, does my property appreciate and all that. I think the fundamentals are the same. If you put all these features to attract tenants to come in, you put all these features to attract people to buy into your strata in an office or whatever that you buy into a strata, it's exactly the same thing. Okay, it just happened that we happen to start on that footing on condominiums. If you're speaking about your own landed property, for example, say your own bungalow and so forth, it's exactly the same thing as well. If you design your property, or you buy the property that you can't access the roof, you buy property that the pipes are all concealed in there. You buy the property that has got so many bits and pieces that you have to maintain it all the while. At the end of the day, it's just that instead of you sharing the cost and getting decisions from other people, you make it yourself. So that's why today, if you see the disparity in the quality of maintenance in these homes, you can go to a housing development, a landed one. You can see one is worth more than the other. Clearly, on appearance, you can tell, between one that is dilapidated and one that's maintained well. So this is a given, yeah. So I hope that the listeners understand that we are not just intentionally focusing on condominiums. The approach and the concept, I think, is very similar. Yeah.
I think, thank you, Anthony. If I could just add on to that, just imagine a scenario, you build and design, a bungalow, with a lot of amenities, right? 5 years down the road, you want to cash out. You're going to have a problem selling that property because, the target market that you're looking at is going to be really very, very niche.
Yes.
And those people who can afford to come up with that money may not
Will
like
do their
what
own.
you have done.
Yeah, they'll do their own. Yeah.
Yeah. So point for considerations. Yes. Thank you very much. Talking back to defects versus upgrading. One of the situation that we have actually seen during one of our judging panel was site visit was some design renovations actually went in, meaning because some area were not terraced, some of them did not have an awning and the water splashed in, and clearly that was a design fault from the start, but during the DLP something had to be done. So then the question is this under the DLP because it was badly designed, or is it upgrading? I mean, how do you judge? Where do you go from there?
Chris, you want to jump in there?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Normally I talk last one anyway.
No.
No. I'm just saying to you is that for all intents and purposes, design, right? For example, right? If you ask me, the basic thing is very simple. It still doesn't change from there, right? If I submit a plan, I build according to the plan. If I meet all my standard and I got it approved and got it delivered to you, really my responsibility and that, really, right? Then the next thing is a goodwill, and whether you don't, just to let you know, strata management has structured in very interestingly where the developer have to be very keen they are still involved. You know why? Because within the first year, they still have to manage the property after handover before they form the JMB, right? And when the JMB is even formed, the fact that there's a J there means the developer is inside as well. So what I'm trying to tell you is that this is a baby that you need to carry on for a while. And until the strata title is issued, and that's not the most efficient right now at the moment, right? So again, even after you deliver the baby, you have to make sure the baby continue to grow for the next few years. And therefore, whatever sickness that this baby have seems to be the problem of the parent, which is the developer in that sense. So I'm saying to you that strata management is not designed to say that where the developer can hand over straight away and wash their hand. The answer is no, right? At least for 1 year, they need to manage and they still need to collect the fees, correct? And then later, the joint management body means that they're still involved after a while. And until the strata is out, they're still involved. So if you ask me, the strata is taking a long time now, right? So to me, this is a very different type of commitment. A developer, when they look into this kind of business, they have to really think through from the property management perspective. Very simple. You talk about splashing of water and whatnot. Just imagine you have a JMB meeting now, and then your developer got a rep there. They say, hey, every day we got this water, everything. How many times you need to attend to this complaint? You might as well do it, right? So I'm saying to you, there's a little bit of difference there. Yeah.
Well,
What about,
okay. Can I jump in on that one?
Sure.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I think the issues on rain splashing, just take this for example. We see a lot of these things here. We have tropical climate, strong winds, high rise. We see a lot of complaints that water is splashing into lift lobbies and corridors, and actually some of the water is going inside the lifts and damaging equipment. So this is not a situation where it is something on whether it's inconvenient. This is a situation where it's affecting big ticket items. So I think in instances like that, there is no choice where something has to be upgraded. There has to be some improvements that has to be done. So I think the question here is that who pays for this thing? Is this coming from the sinking fund? Is this coming from the residents? Or is this something that the developer ought to have made good because it wasn't fit for purpose? So I think this is the question I think that we could actually address.
Mm.
In my opinion, I just want to add a little bit. my advice to the developers, because they play a very important role during the initial period when the building is completed, or even during the design stage. They should have the property management and facility management knowledge, to ensure that the facilities can be easily maintained. Then they have to consider this during the during the design stage, and during the initial stage after the completion, and before they hand it over to the residents, to manage the property. So they will have to play their role in ensuring that the defects of the building defects are well taken care. So they will have to do their part to ensure that it will not prolong and they do not abandon when the defects is encountered. So normally when you delay the rectifications of the defects, then you hand it over to the residents during the joint management body or management corporation, and the JMB and MC, having insufficient financial resources, will not be able to rectify the defect. So I think apart from they performing the responsibility as a good and responsible developer, they will have to also educate those joint management committees during the JMB time. So I agree with Mr. Chris. They have the rep there, but in many in a situation, the developer reps are just totally ignored and they do not attend the JMB meetings. And the JMB also sometimes do not know that the developer still has a role to play, as one of the committee members, and even they cannot resign, as the committee members. The rest of the residents can tender the resignation, but not a developer. You see? So because of because of these issues of the defects.
Yeah. Hence, they need the guide, the handbook, right? Chris, can you show, please? Yes. Yeah. Everything's there. Everything's there. So, yeah. Wow, thank you. Anthony, you don't have one? Okay. No marks for you.
But also have this,
okay.
These are the property management standard issued by the board, can also be used as the guidelines to manage your property.
Yeah, thank you. Please, there's one question. You say that, what if the defects, of a new project only show up after the DLP period? What happens? What recourse do they have? Do they have any recourse at all?
Yeah, of course. A defect that show up after defect liability period most of the time is again, if someone did it wrongly, it's still wrong. How about that? It can show up 20 years later, it's wrong, right? So there's obviously a claim. Of course, legally, there's this concept of latent defect, and all this, but this is all a little technical here. I don't want to confuse everyone, right? I just want to say to you is that if you can prove that it is a defect, if you can prove that this is actually not because of wear and tear, and not because of service life, Anthony knows this very well, right? As a result of that, then you can still claim. To me, it's not a problem. It's a question of evidence, and you can have to prove. Well, in legally, what we use the word causation. Who causes this? If it can trace back to the original developer, then yeah, you can. It's just that if it's beyond the effect liability period, there's no more retention sum there, which means that it's not so ready to pay you, and then it got to be to do the credibility of the developer of the day then.
So it's not like you can't take it up after that DLP period, right? Yeah. Yes, Tan Haji, you wanted to say something?
Under the Strata Management Act, is actually all the Strata Title Act. It requires the developer to place a deposit, to the COB in case of defects. In case they do not rectify the defects and there is any complaint, then the COB may use this deposit and place with them and to rectify the defects. I think the JMB or MC, all the residents must know this. So must always go back and check with the COB on whether the deposit kept with the COB is there or not. If there is money there, they can apply and use that if the developer fails to rectify the defects.
Okay, time is running short. Maybe I'll just have one last question for all the three gentlemen here. maybe we take turns to answer. Maybe Anthony, if you want to tackle it first, share with us, in the context of what we are talking about today, about building value in your property investment indirectly. I mean, you don't ruin, you don't destroy the value, so you build value, right? So all this to happen, what would be the attributes of a project that you would go for that would enable you to do something like that? Yeah, what would be the main attributes that appeal to you?
Just very quickly, it's all about, it all starts with the design. When the building was conceived, it was designed by taking into considerations not just the appeal or the passion or the outlook of it, but also the fact that the design would have taken into consideration the maintainability. The ease of maintainability equals, at the end of the day, the dollar value that is congruent with that particular type of concept of that property, and also with the total number of residents that are staying there. Okay, so because at the end of the day, you all have to get together and still group together to get that money to maintain this thing here. So if you have a disproportionate kind of situation where you have a very, very exclusive kind of property and then you put all these facilities here, so what will happen is that obviously the per unit person who the per unit that has to pay for the service charges will increase because there's just not enough people to defray the cost. So I think this is the part where I believe that during the time that when you're selling the property, as far from the developer's point of view, and also the people who are buying that, I think that expectations need to be met. That expectations need to be spoken today. Often those are the kinds of things that are not, I wouldn't say disclose, probably disclosure is a hard word. I would say that it's good to start to tell people we are discerning, or we are exclusive, or we are not that exclusive. So I think that kind of rating, that kind of matching of expectations between what I designed and what I believe this property will cost you to run versus the right target market that's going to buy into this property. So I think that all comes with how we conceive this to be. And the other last one, the point is that I would also ask the property as far as the value is that, will this developer wash his hands after he's completed the property? After all the titles have been issued, because I think one of the areas that we're beginning to see that developers today are saying, look, hey, if I'm designing this well and I'm bringing in a fantastic group of residents buying into my property long term, they see appreciation and they want the property is maintained well. Why people are asking them to stay back, asking them to continue to run the property. So I see that is something of a trend that's very exciting.
Okay. What about Chris? What would you go for?
And the fact that just to add on Anthony's side, and the fact that the developer is willingly continue to run the place, right?
Yes.
After they have done their work or whatever, hand over the strata title is also a good sign.
Yes.
It's a telltale sign to tell you that this is good. But I did saying to you is that at the end of the day, I'm not a valuer. I don't want to talk about really how does it have a value. I leave that to Haji Ishak, right? To me, I'm just highlighting to you, it's very simple. Even if it's the same value, correct? We still pick and choose, right? Right? We go to pasar, we go to market, we look at all the mango, we still squeeze it a bit, see which one is more tender, which one is more yellow, although it's still 1 kg, $50, for example, in that sense. So to me, at the end of the day, if you keep your own property better, okay, let's put it this way. If you don't want to talk in the context of condominium, I want to say just in the context of your property, correct? If your property is more nicely done, more neat, more clean, less wear and tear, smell of fresh, right? Very likely will people choose your unit over others, correct? And let's say if you're part of a strata scheme, then obviously before they walk into your unit, they got the impression out of the whole thing before they walk in. So low maintenance is an issue. Community that you choose in, I cannot emphasize this enough. You know why? Like I said, you could be very well. You are very committed, but do your neighbor is also very committed? Let's go to the question just now. Even Anthony said that, we've got 3 swimming pools. Let's close up 1 swimming pool because low maintenance cut down the frill. Now the question comes. You know what the question comes? Which swimming pool should we close? The one that's closest to me, don't close. right? Even though I don't use. You understand that? The one furthest away, you close that one, but that one is close to someone else, right? So I'm saying to you, these are the community thing, the soft thing that's very important. Just like even if you're not buying a non-strata property, it's also the community around there, right? I'm sure a location also tell which type of person are staying in that location. Hence, there's this mantra as in like, why people like to have a Bangsa address, why people like to have a Damansara address, no matter what, just call it Damansara, it works, that we know at the end of the day. So I'm saying to you is that maintenance is an issue. Even if it's not a collective maintenance thing, the fact that you can maintain your own unit better, you rank higher and your chance is getting better value than someone else. Even if it's not of better value, you got picked first. How about that?
Yeah. Good point. Thank you. And last but not least, Tan Haji, if you were to buy a property, and you feel confident that the value will not depreciate, what would be the quality, the attributes of this property?
Well, to me, I think I just want to add a points given by Anthony and Chris. Management, maintenance, maintenance is a good attribute towards attracting the positive elements to the properties. Because in order to ensure that the property appreciate over time, so you need to attract a positive ambience. You need to create a good environmental, clean, safe, and harmony. So these three, clean, safe, and harmony, is where the focus is on the effective maintenance of the property and the community responsibility. If you have a responsible community and living around, I think all the positive elements are there. So when there are positive elements, the more the chances to have better demand coming in is better compared to other place. So in order to appreciate the value, we have to work together. I think the developer, the government, the JMB, the purchaser, and the community as a whole. So we have to work together, to ensure that all these positive elements, the policy makers and all that, have to work together. When we work together towards this creating or attracting the positive elements, the property would definitely appreciate over a period of time.
So in other words, the owner does have a crucial role to play. You can't just leave the property to grow its own value. You have to work towards it, i.e., helping to make sure that the maintenance is good, be it a condo, be it your own unit, right?
Yeah.
So the word maintenance is key, right? Yes. Thank you very much. Yes. Sorry. Yes.
No,
anything else?
Responsible citizens to me. I think.
Responsible citizen, yes, sure. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I think we have done more than 90 minutes of chatting already. Thank you very much for your time, for your insights into today's topic, and to all our viewers. Please remember to check in the comment section if you have been selected, to receive a prize, either, one of the OMG Strata Owner's Manual Guide or the home inspection that is, being contributed by Architect Center. So you got to check in the comment section, and, you have to check your own inbox as to how you redeem those prizes. And if there's any question, please PM HProp on our Facebook. Yes. With that, gentlemen, thank you again very much for your time. And all this discussion tonight will be transcribed into a special report that will appear in the HProp e-publication that will appear on the 17th of July. Meanwhile, excerpts of tonight's discussion will be posted on our website. yeah, all the way, to the 17th of July, where a special report will be put together. Yes. Thank you so much again for your time, and good night and stay safe. Okay.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.